This election is the best example of why y'all are so afraid of diversity, equity, and inclusion, because then you can't have a simple-minded, underqualified white man somehow end up ascending. Instead, you've got to pay attention to the qualified black woman that is on the other side.
My Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett, she had a little time today.
Welcome to the Skyfall Sessions, where I provide fact-based political commentary regardless of whether or not the sky is falling around us. Congratulations, you found my first video of my new channel, so why not like and subscribe to give it some starting numbers? Now, context. Representative Jasmine Crockett, non-squad progressive from Texas's 30th Congressional District, has the floor for a DEI hearing conjured up by a bunch of mad Republicans. Let's see what she has to say.
This hearing is actually the best example of what waste, fraud, and abuse looks like, because the only reason we're having this hearing is because somebody got their feelings hurt in a debate. And I don't understand why we're wasting taxpayer dollars. Next time, tell your big boy to show up and be ready to handle the woman in the room who hopefully will become the next president of the United States.
She's unapologetic about everything she says, and they don't like that.
Nevertheless, while we do have two amazing authors from Project 2025, which it seems like everybody got the memo, like, yes, I'm going to double down and say it's my thing, but I'm going to make sure I also say that it ain't our homeboys thing, because we know that it doesn't poll very well with the American people, because the American people are woke enough to recognize that there is nothing good in it for them.
And that's facts. 51% of Americans believe Project 2025 represents Donald Trump, 47% of Americans oppose Project 2025, and only 14% of Americans support it, according to Navigator Research and University of Massachusetts.
So with that being said, Ms. Perryman, I'm just curious, and this is yes or no. Is Trump's name ever mentioned in Project 2025? Yes or no? Just yes or no. I got you.
Within the document itself,
yes.
There are a number of references to the former administration.
So is Trump's name mentioned just one time?
I believe it's mentioned more.
Okay. 5 times.
I haven't counted.
Oh, okay. Well, if I told you that his name is mentioned approximately 312 times, would you have any reason to dispute that?
I don't have any reason.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's interesting that we want to try to pretend. We're not going to pretend in here. We're going to work with facts and not fiction. So I also want to talk about inflation really quickly with you, Ms. Perryman, because we've talked about it a lot. I'm just curious to know, is the inflation that we just struggled through, was that global or was that limited to the United States?
Global.
Global. Seemingly, it was attached to this thing called the global pandemic. Is that correct?
That is my understanding.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't just the United States.
No.
Okay, so it wasn't just a matter of the Biden-Harris administration and the United States is struggling, right?
I think the United States actually fared better than the rest of the world.
Oh, yeah. In fact, we are. Correct?
I think so, yeah.
All right, but inflation still hurts, and so that's why we have a candidate that has an actual plan instead of concepts of a plan. Or as I like to say, Trump only has offered concepts of constitutionality.
We gotta love how she's continuing with the alliteration. Anyways, I like this because this is her just obviously pointing out the regular lies that Republicans push on a regular basis and kind of lays out how obvious all of the lies are. She kind of just lays it out and says, look, we're not gonna play games here. This is what it really is. And we need more of that in politics.
Mixed with coordinations of a coup, but nevertheless, we're gonna move on. I want to talk about the internet really quickly, because we wanted to talk about the internet. Actually, let me talk about the border real fast, and then we can talk about Texas in this way. I'd ask for unanimous consent to admit this article from The Hill that says Trump says, blame it on me if border bill fails.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you so much. Now I'm going to move on to the internet, and I'm actually going to talk about Texas, because I believe that the testimony has been somewhere around the fact that no money has actually been disputed as it relates to rural broadband. I'd also ask for unanimous consent to admit this article from the USDA.gov. USDA officials attend groundbreaking to expand high-speed internet access in rural Texas, dated March 7th, 2024, Italy, Texas.
Without objection, so ordered.
Thank you so much.
With respect, that was not the testimony.
Oh, I thought you said no dollars had been spent.
The largest single program.
My question is, did you not say
$42 billion.
Okay.
0 houses have been connected. There are other federal programs, including Trump-era ones, that right now are churning dirt and connecting.
Okay, so just to be clear, because I don't want the American people to be confused, because I was confused, because it almost seemed as if, considering the fact the name of this hearing is the failed policies, as if nothing had been done. But to clarify for those that are watching, you aren't saying that no dollars have been spent as it relates to rural broadband dollars under the Infrastructure Act, correct?
To be clear, for the signature effort, 42
Yes or no? Have any dollars been spent?
not a
$1.
single person has been connected. There's
That's not my question, though. My question was, have any
issues. Senator Ted Cruz from
Okay,
Texas
I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on. I'm reclaiming my time at this point.
Many of these bills,
I'm reclaiming my time, which means, Chairman, I'm going to
per location.
Context. Prior to this, Comer said everything Joe Biden and Kamala Harris has touched has failed. It attempted to imply that no money had gone towards the expansion of broadband. Actual facts. According to Broadband USA, on November 15, 2021, President Biden signed the infrastructure bill, which provided $65 billion to improve high-speed internet across America.
Here's the deal. You've testified a lot about the problem with the broadband rollout being diversity, equity, and inclusion. You said DEI, I don't know how many times, which is one of the issues that Project 2025 takes issue with. But it's interesting to me because I have another article from the Texas Tribune, and it actually specifically states that internet providers say they are simultaneously hopeful and skeptical about whether the incoming federal dollars will be enough to connect the most underserved Texans. Historically, other federal rural broadband funding programs have seen limited success because many companies who committed to providing broadband went into default after radically underestimating their cost. It doesn't say anything about diversity. And the final thing that I will say
Do you
is
know why
that
those
this
costs have
election,
increased
I didn't ask you a
substantially?
question. The final thing that I will say is that this election is the best example of why y'all are so afraid of diversity, equity, and inclusion, because then you can't have a simple-minded, underqualified white man somehow end up ascending. Instead, you've got to pay attention to the qualified black woman that is on the other side. And with that, I will yield.
So the power dynamic in our country is shifting, and she definitely represents that. Let's see what Roland Martin and crew has to say about this.
I just love Jasmine Kick-Ass Crockett. Man, she just take it to them every time, and she has the receipts, the invoices, all of that. And she's a boss, and I love her authenticity, and I love her command of the facts, because a lot of times people see the presentation and they see the sass and, you know, she got a little slang that she talks, and they don't really recognize that she knows exactly what the hell that she's talking about. She already know the answer before she asks you the question, and she's paying attention. And so that white man thought he was going to outwit and outsmart and out talk her, and he learned today, ain't going to happen, Cappers.
A lot of white nationalists like Comer think that the kind of blackness that Representative Crockett displayed is some kind of disqualifier, when in actuality it's just introducing a new kind of voice and culture to the hearing floor that Congress definitely needs.
The numbers really drive the point home. I didn't even search how many times Trump appears in Project 2025, but over 300 mentions of Donald Trump's name specifically, and then they want to sit up there and act like, who? Donald Trump? Who? Donald Trump had nothing to do with that? We are not buying it. We're not buying it at all. And I really don't even like the idea that Donald Trump has concepts of a plan when he clearly has a 920-something page roadmap blueprint of a plan. And that doesn't even count the thousands of appointees that he wants to install over civil workers and the judges that he's going to get a list from the Federalist Society and all kinds of people. So I think he has much more than concepts of a plan, but he wants to try to make it seem like he's yielding. And
oh no, he's lying. I mean, we all know he's lying.
And this is why I like shows like Roland Martin Unfiltered versus like mainstream media, because the mainstream media acts like it's just frankly afraid to tell the truth, and they tell it like it is.
You know, this is completely logical. We have to remember that the white supremacist who runs this project, who runs that foundation, Kevin Roberts, is Dr. Kevin Roberts. 21 years ago, he wrote his dissertation at the University of Texas on slaves and slavery in Louisiana, the evolution of Atlantic world identity, 1791 to 1831. If those dates sound familiar, 1791 was the date of the beginning of the Haitian Revolution. 1831 was the Nat Turner Rebellion in Virginia. Dr. Kevin Roberts the captain of the Project 2025 flagship, would say, and I read his dissertation, he's arguing, among other things, that assimilation into the American culture is what improved people of African descent, but ultimately it was their failure to kind of meld together that led to the problem. The logic that what he's saying about in Haiti, when you read scholars in Haiti and scholars on the Haitian Revolution, after Toussaint Louverture, you had Jean-Jacques Dessalines and then Henri Christophe. Christophe becomes a king in Haiti. They had challenges in state formation. These white nationalists, and this is where it's very clear, these white nationalists believe that the problems that Haiti had in the early days after the putting out the French, the English, and the Spanish, the problems they had were because somehow black people are inferior, genetically inferior. You know, we eat cats and dogs and things like that, and we're not qualified to be the president of the United States, all those kind of things.
Context. During the debate with Kamala Harris, Donald Trump said that Haitian immigrants in Springfield were eating cats and dogs. This was debunked by ABC. He also lied about Barack Obama for over a decade, trying to state that he was not born in the U.S. Also, obviously, false.
But what the historians will tell you is the problems Haiti had were because every other country in the hemisphere, terrified that the rest of us were going to turn up and tear the place up, excluded Haiti from any form of trade. The United States didn't recognize Haiti until 1863. Y'all friend Abraham Lincoln, all of you crying crocodile tears over the great emancipator, who wanted, by the way, to send black people out of the country, and Haiti was one of the places they considered during the Lincoln administration. My point is that what these white nationalists always do is exclude the hand of white nationalism and global white supremacy whenever factoring in the challenges African people have had. This is so on brand, it should come as no surprise. That is how they think. So the only way you can deal with them is not to argue with them, because Kevin Roberts, quite frankly, knows more about the Haitian Revolution than most of the people who would claim they know something about the Haitian Revolution. The way you deal with them is to break their effing backs. You have to break them politically. You have to break them socially. You have to break them economically with your dollars. You're not going to argue with them on any common basis of logic, because if you don't understand white supremacy, everything else you think you understand will only confuse you.
And the thing to understand here is that they know what they're doing. They're just not using logic to do it because they know it's wrong. It's not a matter of if they're lying. It's a matter of how well they're able to convince people of their lies.
Everything Dr. Carr said, everything with them leads back to some sort of argument that they're superior. I remember when the bell curve came out. It's the same thing. Project 2025 is the same thing. They're just always wanting to say that they're superior. And, to Greg's point, winning these elections is what stops that forward progress on these policies. And I guess tonight, in a few minutes, we'll see more discussion, Joe Taka and the gang, with regard to the next hour with the vice president and friends. So it's an amazing thing to watch a major political party implode into this, into hatred of other people and really into racism.
And I know people hate the use of the word racism, but really we're just calling it out for what it is. If it's racism, it's racism. And if that's what they're doing, that's what they're doing. So we have to make moves to fix it and get away from all of this talking about what woke culture is and that type of thing, and get to more of what Crockett was doing in terms of ignoring the lack of logic and more focusing on actual facts so we can get things done. Anyways, being said, if you guys can, please like and subscribe. New channel, so anything you guys do can help us get started. Thanks. Catch you guys next time.